Reflection 6 over weeks 13 and 14. To start off with, cities have always reflected the tools and ideas of their time, but today's rapid technological change is redefining how people live, move, and connect. As digital systems, data-driven planning, and smart infrastructure become central to urban life, the evolution of cities mirrors shifting priorities, new forms of interaction, and emerging visions for more a connected future. This reflection explores how advancing technologies from intelligent transit network to energy efficient buildings and sensor supported public spaces are reshaping this rhythm of urban living. It highlights trends towards automation, sustainability, and hyperconnectivity while acknowledging the tension between innovation, privacy, and equitable access. The future of cities is shaped not only by planners and engineers, but also by residents whose needs and experiences guide how technology is integrated into shared spaces. Understanding these forces reveals how communities can design urban environments that remain human-centered while embracing the tools that define the cities of tomorrow.
Be talking about today. How different future scenarios illustrate the ways technology, people, and environment interact across global and local scales. How climate pressures may shift population patterns and why some regions will attract growth while others face decline. How futurists approach uncertainty, long-term planning, and the links between global trends and when thinking about the future. The challenges that are faced during the growth of cities: infrastructure limits, transportation needs, sustainability concerns, people-centered design strategies. How digital systems, sensor networks, and real-time data flows are changing the way cities operate and respond to everyday demands. How automation and AI increasingly support planning, service coordination, and efficient city management. How innovations like smart grids, renewable energy systems, and responsive public spaces help cities become resilient and adaptable to future pressures. Why fairness, community engagement, and ethical decision making are important as technology becomes more embedded in urban life.
The sources that we went over this week was Geographies of the Future. And it talked about how the virtual world has changed our lives forever and will continue to change how we work, shop, interact with each other. Before everything was in person. And now that we have this virtual world, it's able to store more data and have more things accessible to us on a non-earthly world. And it creates a lot less havoc almost in our real world. Globalization has started to make cities seem the same with the same brands, foods, and cultures. Now you'll notice that in the video they talked about how New York City is more like Paris than it is upstate New York, just based on the culture, the food, the buildings, the brands that are all there compared to a little countryside town in upstate New York. Technological advances have many pros, but also come with cons. Security footage has led to manipulation and segregation, but has also helped many criminal cases. So as we advance in technology, I think it does have more pros than cons, but there's still going to be cons. Human environment interactions. One of the questions they asked was how will we communicate with each other in the future in different environments? How are we going to socialize? How are we going to get work deals done? Are we going to communicate through Zoom or are we going to communicate in person? How are social events going to look in the future, as it is already different in the past 5 years? And then one of the last things they talked about was geoengineering and how they use to change the climate, but requires a lot of technological advances. I think this is something that's going to be far, far in the future. They talked about, pumping heat from the earth into the environment and stuff like that. The second thing I went over was where on Earth will people live in the future? Climate change is redefining which regions are habitable or economically viable. Rising temperatures will force people away from equatorial regions, such as many countries in South America and Africa. People will move toward places with reliable infrastructure, transportation networks, digital connectivity, stable food and energy systems. I think people will begin to see why that these places are more valuable and more valuable to them as they move, especially through migration, which in the video they talked about will become more normalized in a continuous process, has already begun to, but especially in the future as network transportation networks just become so easy and cheaper too. Countries with decreasing populations will have an uphill battle trying to try and get immigrants to come to their countries. I think it's going to just as temperatures rise and um, countries that are near the equator, especially their infrastructure, I think will begin to kind of bottom out, and it's just going to be hard for those countries to get more people to come. Climate havens will experience significant growth. Those are countries such as North America, Canada. I think Norway will be in there. kind of northern countries that are far from the equator and just are cooler. Regions facing heat, drought, or high sea levels will lose millions of residents. It kind of goes back to the on them getting immigrants as well, and then political borders may matter less.
By futurists. The future cannot be predicted with certainty. It should be explored through multiple possible scenarios. The purpose of futurism is not prediction, but preparation and better decision making for today. The world is experiencing rapid acceleration of change, technology, climate, health, and society. Long-term thinking is becoming more important but more difficult due to global uncertainty. The future is influenced by the interconnection of trends, not just a factor at a time. Some of the main key elements from this article is that we should plan for multiple possible futures and not just expect outcomes. The most important question from this is what future do we want instead of more so what it seems likely, the easiest, most best outcome. But we can just have humans still have agency and responsibilities in shaping the future and is not fully controlled by technology. Technology and AI bring massive opportunities, but also ethical and social risks. Climate change, population shift, and inequality will be among the shortest forces shaping future society. Organizations and individuals who think long term will be more resilient and adaptable. The future should be designed around human values, not just efficiency and innovation. The Future of Cities, the other reading material video. The world is rapidly urbanizing with most of the global population now living in cities. Cities face major challenges such as overpopulation, population waste, housing shortages, traffic and infrastructure strain, water and energy scarcity. Technology won't be able to solve urban problems alone. The future of cities must be people-centered and not effectively driven. Every city is different, and there's no one size fits all solution. So like each city has different problems that need to be solved different ways versus just you can't solve every problem of every city the exact same way. Innovation's happening at both high tech level and small scale grassroots community levels. Some of the main key takeaways from this article were that people matter more than buildings and technology. Small local situations can have big impacts like waste recycling, water collection, solar lighting, ways to be sustainable. Sustainability is essential for future city survival. Public transportation, like walking and biking, are more sustainable than car-centered cities. Like easy ways to like walk and use bikes versus having carbon emissions into the city could help. Community involvement is critical to meaningful urbanization change. Density can be positive when planned correctly for like efficient land use, like how you're building on the land, social interaction between the people and communities, how they interact with parks, buildings, all that, and then sharing resources. The future of cities depends on creativity, adaptability, environmental responsibility, and social equity.
Technology shapes urban systems. Cities are increasingly dependent on interconnected sensors that track motion, energy consumption, and environmental conditions. Real-time data streams enable the city systems to react faster to congestion, maintenance needs, and service demands. AI-supported tools help model future scenarios and improve infrastructure decisions. Digital networks create new forms of coordination between transportation, utilities, and public services. Automated systems can increase efficiency, but also raise questions about transparency and accountability. Technology shifts the role of citizens from passive users to active participants in high urban systems function. The challenge is ensuring that these tools will support fairness, privacy, and access for all residents. Cities and urban innovation. Smart cities integrate digital tools to better coordinate transportation, energy, waste, and public services. Smart grids and renewable energy systems enable cities to manage demand and reduce environmental pressures. Responsive public spaces employ sensors to modulate lighting, safety features, and usage patterns. Innovation happens at every scale, from citywide digital infrastructure to neighborhood-level experimentation. Sustainability goals can be strengthened through data-driven approaches by recognizing patterns and enhancing resource efficiency. Community involvement is about ensuring upgrades in technology meet the needs of its residents. The ultimate vision for smart city innovation is creating adaptive, resilient, human-centered urban environments.
In conclusion, the technological trends explored in this reflection show that the future of cities will be shaped by the interplay of digital innovation, sustainability, and human-centered planning. As smart systems and data-driven tools become more deeply embedded in urban life, they influence everything from mobility and infrastructure to safety, accessibility, and overall quality of life. These trends represent more than new devices or upgraded services. They reveal how cities adapt to changing demographics, climate pressures, cultural expectations, and the growing demand for efficient, connected environments. As technology transforms transportation, public spaces, communication, and resource management, It highlights the values communities choose to prioritize in their evolving urban landscapes. To understand the future of cities, we must recognize the balance between technological progress and the need of the people who live within these spaces. When innovation is paired with equity and thoughtful design, technology becomes a tool that strengthens resilience, enhances community life, and supports inclusive growth. Through this perspective, the study of cities and technology clarifies how urban environments can continue to adapt and thrive in an increasingly digital world. Okay, thank you guys so much.